First of all, thank you everyone for joining the class. So this class is basically on ASM, which is called F5 Application Security Manager. So we will start with highlight of the course. Then I will tell you about course content and what we will be covering it and what is the difference between WAF versus ASM versus firewall. So many people are having confusion between these topics and what is LTM, GTM. So guys, F5, if I talk about F5, F5 is a company. So if I talk about whole F5, F5 is a company which has different products. We have talked about LTM, GTM, ASM. So these are the three main technologies which has been introduced by F5. So when I talk about LTM guys, LTM is called local traffic manager, which many people have already done or they already know. So people ask me like, do I need to require LTM as a knowledge to do ASM? No guys, you just need to know basics of LTM. If I talk about basics of LTM, you just need to know what is F5, what is local traffic manager, what is virtual server, what is pool, and what is node. So these are the three things. If you want to enroll for ASM, you should know. Anyways guys, first class, anyways I will be discussing basics of LTM. When I start ASM, I will give you the background of LTM also. So LTM is called a normal load balancer. So when I talk about LTM versus ASM, what is the main difference between them? So I will talk about course content and all other things later on because I don't want to spend much time on that. Maybe later on I will discuss about that. But I want to save your time. So let's go directly into structure and how it will help. So guys, whenever you join any class, you should understand how it will benefit me. If I also do any classes, right, it should benefit me, right, in any way, whether salary increase or whether you're working in production, you want a hike. So you should know how this will help, whether this course will contain any practical stuff. So all these things are beneficial. Some people tell that, will it help me to get a job? We will discuss about that. And the last thing we will discuss about career guidance. So all these things, guys, we will discussing about. And if I'm good in LTM, do I still require ASM knowledge? So guys, trust me, whether you are in Gulf countries like Dubai or any other countries like Singapore or any Pacific countries, trust me, if you're good in LTM, people will also require knowledge on ASM. ASM is an F5 term, but if I talk about normal term, it is called WAF, which is called Web Application Firewall. See, Palo Alto or Checkpoint is also called Web Application Firewall. So that's why F5 has introduced a term called Application Security Manager. So F5 has only given this term ASM. Some people, to make it easy, they term it as Web Application Firewall. So guys, nowadays, even if you are in network background, first thing, even if you are in security background, you require knowledge of LTM, GTM, and ASM. GTM is totally on DNS solution, which I will not talk about, but LTM and ASM goes together. If you're good in Palo Alto, guys, if you're good in FortiGate, and if you know LTM, guys, you should have knowledge of ASM. Right now, guys, every company is using HTTPS based application, but you need to secure it. You need to protect it. You should know how attacks are performed on the web application and how it will protect your application. You know that, guys. You know that how firewall works. Let's say I have a firewall. I have internet traffic coming. This is internet. And then I have my trusted network. So firewall will protect this network from this network. But what about my application, guys? Let's say my application, I have 10 application, internal application I have. I want to protect it. Palo Alto or any other firewall will protect your whole network. But what about application, database? I need to protect this. So that is why F5 ASM has been introduced. We will talk about topology, how it will protect everything. We will talk in detail. And trust me, guys, this ASM courses is in huge demand. Right now, very less people are certified in this technology. So F5 has a separate model, which is called ASM. And the code exam is 303. So when I talk about how this will benefit, so let's talk on this part. So when I talk about ASM, guys, in this, I will talk about all hands-on exposure. When I talk about exposure on vulnerabilities, we will perform all OWASP's top 10 vulnerabilities, plus many more vulnerabilities. If you are good in application security, guys, then you can go to information security plus network security. See, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, FortiGate all comes under network security part, and one comes under application security. That all comes under ASM, or you must have heard about VAPT stuff, or you must have heard about cyber security products. So that all comes under your application security. And nowadays, guys, you know that ransomware attacks, zero-day attacks, Zscaler, all are application security products. All have different meanings, but now, guys, F5 ASM, even you are going into cloud, they are deploying ASM there also. Whether you are in cloud product or whether you are in automation, still you require security. So that is why we will discuss all the things, how to first, guys, you need two things. When I talk about application security or ASM, you require two things. One, how you will perform attacks, you should know that, and how you protect it. If you know these terms, you are good in that. And it does not require all knowledge of application security. We will discuss step by step how ASM or WAF. So don't get confused. WAF is a web application firewall, and F5 has a term which is called F5 ASM, which is called Application Security Manager. All the labs plus theory will be conducted, guys. We will do all theory part, plus we will do practical stuff on that. And also, guys, I have been working in this industry from last 10 years. I have been certified in F5 101, 201. This is an LTM product. And I have been certified in 303, which is ASM, Application Security Manager. Also, I have done 302 certified, which is called GTM. Plus, guys, you will get lifetime interview support. We just guarantee you, we don't give you job, but we guarantee you whenever you have an interview, either it is related to LTM, ASM, or GTM, we will conduct mock interviews with you guys. You can call me and you can tell me 2 to 3 days in advance, sir, I have an interview. Can you please tell me what type of questions can be asked? So my focus will be that you should become good in production environment. You can troubleshoot any issues related to F5. That is my main purpose. Even it is a 10 hours course or a 20-hour course. My main focus is I will not be in hurry. I want everyone to do labs with me, plus they can work on production environment. And guys, one good news for you all, F5 is giving 30 days license free of cost. You don't need to pay anything. You can practice n number of labs. So all the images, all the things will be given to you. So F5 is giving you 30 days license free of course. So I will tell you how you can get it and how you can perform the labs. So now let's go further on guys. What exactly ASM will help you? What is the overview? So guys, nowadays you must be seeing that you are having web application attacks here and there. Let's say SQL injection, let's say phishing attack, ransomware attack, cross-site scripting attack, all can be protected by ASM. That is an advantage of F5 ASM. So it will help you to give you what is ASM and how it protected. So it will help you to protect your web application attacks plus other attacks related to XML, JSON. So guys, nowadays web application is built on JSON, XML. All this can be protected via F5 ASM. So when I talk about ASM guys, ASM protects from layer 7 attacks. And you should be good in OWASP top 10. So OWASP top 10 is the 10 vulnerabilities which is decided by your company. There is a company which detects like what are the most common top 10 attacks in my organization or in my world. So you should be aware of that and how you can protect it. You can say it is attacks or vulnerability. So I will draw a practical diagram for this so that you can understand. So when I talk about guys, sometimes people have confusion. What is the difference between layer 7 versus layer 3 or layer 4 attacks? All these things will be done in ASM. So when I talk about web application firewall guys, it will protect you from all layer 7 attacks. And what comes under layer 7? Layer 7 comes under HTTP because my application is built on HTTP layer. So that's why I want to protect this. That is where organization deploy WAF. So guys, when I talk about, let's draw a simple diagram. When I deploy an ASM, how the topology looks like. Let's say guys, I have an internet, I have a firewall, I have an F5, then I have, let's say, application server. And after that, let's say we have a database server. So it's a simple database we can talk about. Now, if I talk about this, guys, your HTTP works on request and response model. So request means when you hit a URL. When I talk about URL is SIANETS.com. When I access this URL, it will bypass, first it will pass to firewall, then it will go to load balancer, then it can either go to this server, or this server. This is called LTM, which is called normal load balancer. So guys, let's say I have 1,000 users who are coming from internet who wants to access sianets.com. So I want that my request should get load balances. Some requests should go to this server, some requests should go to this server, and some request could go to this server. So that is called load balancer. But when I talk about ASM, what does it does? So client, this is my client, this is my F5, this is my server. So your client will interact with your web server by sending HTTP request. So when you access any website, guys, first thing you will send HTTPS, let's say SIANETS.com. Now client traffic will come to F5. If you don't have an ASM, let's say you only have LTM, then your request will go to one server. Normal load balancer will happen. What about, let's say this client is hacker. Let's say there is a bad request coming into F5. How F5 will come to know whether it's a bad request or whether it's a good request? There is some mechanism, right? See, I have a firewall. Firewall can only protect based on policy or a VPN. It can detect what is source IP, what is destination IP. But I want to see the header. In header, I want to detect in HTTP request whether my request is a bad request or it is a good request. So how it can determine? So your HTTP, when I talk about HTTP layer, guys, HTTP is basically works on request and response header. I want to check that whether my request is good or bad. There comes ASM, which is called Application Security Manager. It can protect your application. It can check what is coming inside this packet. It can open that packet and check whether all requests are legal or illegal. Then only it will send to server. That is how ASM works. So ASM will first check your request traffic, this one. Then if it's a good request, then it will send to server. If it is a bad request, here only it will get blocked. So how it will go is, let's talk about HTTP diagram, request flow. So first of all, before HTTP request flow, guys, you need to know about HTTP. What is request header and what is response header? We will discuss about this in detail when we will start the course. But to give you an overview, guys, I'll just show you what is request header and what is response header. So to do this, I will go open sianets.com. I will go to developer tool. Now I will go to network tab. So guys, when I open website, let's say this is my website which I open, sianets.com. Okay, when I open this website, I will just show you what is request header and what is response header. Now I will go to sianets.com. I will refresh this. I will open this. Now I will make this page large. So can you see this, guys? When I talk about request and response header, I will just make it little large. So when I see this, see, this is request URL. What is the method? What is the status code? So guys, this all things will be checked by ASM. So this is called HTTP request header, whether your method is good. So by default, when I talk about F5 ASM, in ASM, generally it will only allow get method, post method, or head method. Let's say if some hacker comes into me, Okay, and it uses some method which is called delete method. So if someone is trying to delete all my database, then ASM will block it. And if I talk about response header, guys, this is how it looks like. See, what is the encoding language? What is the host? What is the language they are using it? This is all detailed request header. And then when I talk about user agent, you can see which user agent they are using it. Now, if I talk about response header mean, guys, when server is sending response to F5, that is called response header. So this is the combination of request and response header. We will discuss this in detail, but to give you an overview, request header means when client is sending request to F5, that is called HTTP request header. And we have server, when server is sending a response, that is called response header. And then when I talk about ASM or a WAF module, it will see what request is coming from this client, and even it will also detect your response traffic. Sometimes, let's say, guys, if someone got access to this server and maybe this server is sending some bad request, that F5 will able to detect and it will block it. So F5 is called a proxy. It is called full proxy model. Full proxy means it has a visibility to detect this traffic also and this traffic also. If it is a bad request, F5 will block it. If it is a good request, it will allow it. So we will talk about how it goes. So that is how F5 is called WAF, Web Application Firewall. But when now let's go there and discuss about HTTP request flow. In this case, guys, let's say I have a client. Okay, client request will first hit to your virtual server. Virtual server is nothing but URL of website. Let's say you access google.com. That is one virtual server. Let's say you access website SIANETS.com. That is one website. So all that comes under your virtual server. Now, guys, when your request comes from client, which is called internet, first it will go to virtual server. Now, virtual server, once it will come to F5, F5 will check whether I have ASM policy. When I talk about ASM, guys, ASM has layer 7 policy applied to your virtual server. So first it will check when traffic comes to F5, it will go to virtual server. It will check whether F5 virtual server has layer 7 policy. If it has a layer 7 policies, then it will check ASM. It will check everything, whether request is good or bad. But let's say this virtual server don't have layer 7 policy, then it will directly go to your pool member. Pool member is nothing, guys, it is called application server. So when I talked about when user access 100 of users comes to F5, main purpose is I want to access my website 24/7. That is the purpose of your load balancer. My application should work 24/7, but I want security also. If F5 virtual server or F5 does not have layer 7 policy, then traffic will directly go. But if it has a layer 7 policy, then it will check whether my request is valid or it is not valid. If it is valid, then only it will forward to your pool member. If it is not valid, then it will block it. So that is how your traffic flows. Now, when I talk about, guys, further, so ASM basically help you to learn. Let's say I access my HTTPS SIANETS.com. This is my website. It will check everything. What are the URLs which are coming here? What are the file type which user is accessing? What are the parameter? So all ASM deals with this thing: URL, file type, and parameter. So when I talk about URL, guys, URL is a combination of file type and a parameter. So we will discuss all these things in detail. Now, guys, one of the most important question which comes into picture is why you want to do ASM training, guys. So, guys, this will, first of all, this is huge in demand. Nowadays, all applications are web application. So you should know that how to protect your organization from layer 7 attacks. Also, guys, this course will help you to determine, you can implement different policies, security policies. When I talk about ASM, it deals with security policies. We will talk about positive model, security model, and negative model. Now, guys, after this course, you will understand how to secure your network, how to secure your application based on requirement. You will understand how, let's say you have a weak security in your organization. You don't know whether your organization is using weak security or a good security. So it will help you. And once you clear 101 and 201 exam, then only you can go with 303 exam, which is called ASM. And guys, target audience, what this course is. This course can be done by network engineers or a security engineer. So once you learn this, you will able to deploy WAF. First thing, you can deploy WAF in your production environment. You can also do fine tuning. So fine tuning means, guys, if it's a legal request, ASM should not block it. If it's not a legal request, ASM should block it. And you can also do day-to-day activities. Once you do this course, guys, you will able to deploy your ASM in production environment. You can do fine tuning and you can do day-to-day activities also. After that, guys, let's go further on. After this training, you will be able to crack this exam, which is called 303, which is called Big IP ASM Specialist. And cost of this exam is 185 USD. And what does this course help you? Course, we will start with basics of F5 Ltm. What does Ltm do? We'll talk about architecture and full proxy model. Then we will talk about ASM. Then we will talk about HTTP header, guys. We will talk about detailed when traffic comes to a virtual server, how local traffic policy is applied, what is HTTP profile. We'll talk about all these things in detail. We will then talk about OWASP top 10. What are OWASP top 10? So OWASP top 10 is SQL injection, cross-site scripting. What are this attack? We will perform this attack and how we will protect. We will check all these things in detail. Then how to deploy security policies. So here we will discuss about what is layer 7 policies, and how we will call that in my virtual server. My traffic will always come in my virtual server, guys. Then you will apply a layer 7 policy to that. Then guys, how to fine tune? This is very important. Whenever you deploy ASM in production environment, your main motive should be how to protect your application. Then we will talk about attack signatures. ASM comes with 5,000 signatures and how it protected. Then we will talk about positive security model and a negative security model, guys. Like we have two types of model. I will talk about that, what is positive security model and what is negative security model, so that you can understand that in detailed. Then how we can configure syslog server. If I get any events, how we can detect it. Then other stuff. So guys, don't worry. Right now you might not be getting what all things this will be, but we will cover all these things in detail. First of all, lab, how to make deploy a lab. So in this case, we will have one F5 image and we will do all labs in VMware. 8 GB RAM is required and we will have one PHP auction website. So in this case, this is your vulnerable application. So we will perform all attacks on this and we will see how ASM will protect it, guys. So what is our topology will be? We will have one client. We will have one F5. We will have HTTP profile called on that virtual server. Then we will apply local layer 7 policy. This is the policy which will detect what is the IP address coming from client. Let's say, guys, I want to block client coming from Bangladesh. So how F5 will detect whether traffic is coming from Bangladesh, India? So that all comes under your layer 7 policies. So we will see all these things in detailed. So your guys, nowadays what happen is most of your web application, if I talk about google.com, SIANETS.com, they have three components. Whenever your application team deploys your application and they want to secure your application, so there are three components which comes. First is web server. Second thing is your application server. And the third thing is your database server. So your whole application is built on these three components. Very, very important, guys. You should know what is web server, what is app server, and what is database server. So your request will first go to your web server. After web server, it will go to your application server where your application is hosted. Then it will go to your database. So your F5 will protect your users and your servers. So ASM will protect your user traffic and this your application traffic. So this is how your interaction is happening between. So guys, let's say I access any application, sianets.com. I log in my username. I will enter my username and password so that all entries will be saved in your database. So main role is I want to protect my web server, application server, and database server. So even guys, what is your, maybe I want, there is some bot attacks is happening. Some bots are coming. I want to protect that. That can be protected by ASM. Some DDoS attack is happening. I want to protect it. That can also be protected from ASM. I want to make sure that my application server is based on PCI. So payment card industry. I want to make sure that my all applications are compliant. So that is also done by my F5 ASM. So one of the most important component which I want to discuss now is very, very important, guys. This question will be asked in every interview. What happens when you click web page? I'm just repeating a question. What happens when you click a web page? Web page means sianets.com or any website. First, guys, DNS resolution will be happening. Second thing will be your TCP three-way handshake will happen. Once DNS TCP handshake is happen, then your layer 7 HTTP request is sent, which is called get packet. So if three-way handshake is getting failed, guys, F client will not able to send your HTTP request traffic. So this is how traffic will flow. First DNS resolution will happen, then three-way handshake will happen, then your HTTP request will send. Then you will get a response from server, and then you will get your website. So this is how your traffic flows, guys. Very, very important term comes into picture is URL. What is URL? So you will understand how to parse. So first of all, you need to understand what is URL. URL is called Uniform Resource Locator. What does it mean, guys, is when I talk about this URL, http://sianets.com, then I will enter this search.html. Then I will say question mark product equal to F5 Ltm. So how F5 will detect this? So this all component is called my URL. What is the protocol which I'm using? This is HTTPS. What is the URL? And what is this? This is called URI. And what is this? Product equal to F5 Ltm. This is called parameter. So guys, when I talk about any URL, URL is a combination of your file type. So your all F5, when I talk about whole F5 ASM, F5 ASM deals with your file type, URL, and parameter. So I want to protect, let's say in my organization, I only want to allow PHP, .NET. I don't want to allow exe file type. So that can be protected by web application firewall. I want to say that I only want to allow sianets.com, google.com, my website. All other website, F5 should block. So you should know that what is URL, what is file type, and what is parameter, guys. If you know all these things, then you are good in ASM. So ASM deals with all HTTP related objects. So HTTP is a combination of your URL, file type, and a parameter. Let's say I want to enter product equal to F5 Ltm. So when I access this website, I will open the website, you will come to know. When I open this sianets.com, when I go to course, let's say I want to access F5 ASM. So this is my protocol. This is my URL and this is my URI. So what is coming after URL is called URI. And what is parameter, guys? Parameter is a combination of name and value. What does it means is, let me go to flipkart.com. I will just open flipkart.com and I will show you what is parameter. Let's say I want to go to appliance, or let's say I want to buy some grocery items. So can you see this? This URL is flipkart.com grocery, and you have, this is called parameter. Marketplace is one parameter. This is called name, and this is called value. So URL is a combination of many things, guys. So that is where ASM comes into picture. It can protect your URL, file type, and parameter. So your whole URL, let's say another, I'm taking one more example. Let's say I access this website, https://support.f5.com. Then I will enter this KB article, ENUS, search.html. Your whole URL is combination. When you select anything, question mark product equal to ASM. Let's say this is my URL which I want to access. I want to access all my KB articles related to ASM. So I will access this website. Simple, one more website. I'm just giving you an example. When you go here, you will enter support.f5.com. This is the website where you will get all KB articles, knowledge base articles. So just see how when I select ASM related documents, this URL is right now this one. Now I will enter F5 ASM. Can you see, guys? Now it will give me all articles related to ASM. And what is the parameter here? This is my parameter. This is my URL support.f5.com. This is my URI, and this is my parameter. So your whole URL becomes this. So when I talk about how this parsing will be done, first of all, what is the host name? So your all F5 is building this. Host name is support.f5.com. What is the file name? File name is something called, let's say, KB ENUS. What is the query string? So query string is this one. I want to search all articles related to ASM. That is called my query string or a parameter. So this is how an ASM builds the traffic flow. Now, if I talk about, guys, my industry architecture, how ASM looks like. See, your traffic will come from different client. Then F5 will come into picture. Then it will protect your application server. So my main logic is F5 is deployed near to application server. So this is how in production your architecture is. So you can have firewall at a perimeter layer. Your F5 is always placed near to your app server. And what is the main logic is, it will protect your web application against security threats. It can be your DDoS related attack, It can be your OWASP top 10 related attacks. All these things can be protected from ASM, guys. So see, what are the different types of attacks? I'm just giving you an overview. It can protect from SQL related attack. It can protect from your HTTP. Let's say my by default my F5 only allow get method and post method. If someone is trying to access, let's say I have a client, I have an F5, I have a database. If someone hacker got an access to this database, he will try to delete all these entries from database. So in that case, it will try to use delete method in HTTP request. So in that case, F5 will block it. By default, F5 only allow this method. Brute force attack, denial of service attack, all this can be protected from ASM. So guys, that is very important. Nowadays, you should know that what firewall will prevent, what ASM will protect. So that is why nowadays everyone is following hybrid architecture. In production environment, people have firewall also. People have separate DDoS solution also. People have separate WAF solution also. So that if this get compromised, this can protect. If this get compromised, then this can protect. Multi-layer security architecture is having run nowadays. So this is how, guys, I was talking about how HTTP content. So we will talk about this in detail. What is web application? What are the headers? We'll talk about this in detail. So I'm not going right now on this. Now, guys, when I talk about lab setup, I will just go here. I will delete this. In lab setup, guys, I will have internet. Then I will have one F5. I will have one server, which is called my PHP auction website. And you require minimum 8 GB RAM plus this PHP auction website I will be giving you. This is a vulnerable application. So how it looks like, I will show you. So I have an F5. This is how F5 looks like. So I have created one virtual server. This is called my virtual server. When I open this through my website, HTTP, so this is how it looks like. So we will perform all attacks here and we will see how F5 protect. So let's say I want to protect against SQL injection attack. What is SQL injection? SQL injection means I will get access to all database of this website. I will get all users with their password. So let me show you how it looks like. I will enter this. I will just enter in Google SQL injection attack cheat sheet. I'll just open this. I'm in front of you. I'm performing one attack. So I will take one parameter. I'm just taking one parameter in front of you and performing attack. Let's say I have a vulnerability. I will just enter SQL injection and I will enter this in my SQL injection website, colon or 1 equal to 1. Let enter this in my website and you will see what will happen. I'll go to PHP auction. I will enter this colon or 1 equal to 1. Then I will enter dash. So can you see this? Without I logged in successfully, which means this application is vulnerable to SQL injection attack. Now I will go to control panel. See, I got access to my all database, which means SQL injection is one of the attack where guys you will get access to your database by trying hit and trial method. So there are some combination which you are trying and you get access to all your username with password. That is not good. I want my web application F5 should protect. So how you will protect it? Let's do the lab. I will go to my F5 ASM. I have a virtual server. Now you can see one security. I will call one security policy here. So how my traffic will flow? My user will access my page 192.168, 1.60. Then it will check whether I have a layer 7 policy applied. If it does not have layer policy applied, it will just forward the traffic to your pool member. But if it has a layer 7 policy, it will check all your attack signatures. And if it found that if there is a legal attack, then it will block it. So how you will do is, you will go to virtual server, then you will go to security, then you will go to policies, then enable this. Now I want to create first policy. So how to create policy, guys? You need to go to security tab, application security. Here you need to create a policy. So I will create one security policy. So guys, there are three methods which you can do. Either you can create policy automatic, manually, or through vulnerability, third party vulnerability tool, which is Qualys, PHP, IBM, Whitehead, so that it can do VAPT stuff. Most of the time, guys, I would prefer to configure ASM policies manually. So I will select the option, create a security policy manually. Now, guys, you will give the security policy, let's say PHP as a policy. Here you can see 7 days, enforcement readiness period equal to 7 days. So guys, whenever you deploy WAF policies, first 7 days, it will be in learning mode. What does it means is in 7 days, you can do fine tuning. Fine tuning means whatever traffic is good, you will allow. What traffic is bad, you will block it. Because initially let's say you create a policy and you move it into blocking mode. So your all legal traffic will also get blocked. So you don't want that. You will get an outage. Some people which are legal traffic, F5 will block it because you have not done fine tuning. In that case, guys, F5 works in two modes. When I talk about F5 WAF, F5 WAF works in transparent mode. And second thing is blocking mode. Transparent mode means it will allow everything, but it will give you violation alert. It will show you what are the violation which this application has, whether there is any SQL injection happening, whether there is any parameter tampering happening, it will give you a violation. So best way is for 7 days you move this application into transparent mode. You will work with your application owner to check what traffic is good, what traffic is bad. Then after that you will move this application in blocking mode. So from next time, if there is any bad traffic coming, it will get blocked. So we'll talk about this guys in very much detail, everything. Now I will just select next. Very, very important guys. Basically, you must have worked on firewalls, Palo Alto or Checkpoint. Does firewall supports can apply attack signature based on operating system, web server technology? My simple question is firewall capable to detect whether server is using which operating system, which language it is using? Does firewall has capability to this? That is why WAF is required. WAF can apply attack signature based on operating system. So what does it mean? I have a client, I have a F5 and I have a server. So F5 can able to detect what is the operating system running on your web server, what is the web server technology, either it is using Apache, IaaS or Java. Very, very important. And what is the language? I have a web server, I need to protect it. This is my web server, I need to protect it. What is the language it is using? So your all web server guys deals with 4 things. First, what is the operating system running on your web server? What is the web server technology? It is Apache server, Tomcat or IaaS. So that F5 can apply its attack signatures related to that. What is the language you are running? And the fourth thing is, what is the database you are using? Whether you are using SQL, Oracle, what is the database server behind your application? So I will select, I will say, I have a Unix Linux operating system. I have an Apache server technology. This all things will be given by your application owner. That is the difference between a layer 7 firewall and a WAF. That is the most important difference. Second difference is guys, your firewall will not able to detect what is the URL, what is the file type, what is the parameter running on your websites. But here F5 ASM will help you to provide whether your client has access, which file type, which parameter, how many parameters have been used. This all things can be detected because F5 has a learning engine. When you access any website, when you crawl, which means crawling of your website, it will give you all details. What are the legal URLs? What are the legal file type? What are the legal parameters? Now I will select database. I will select language PHP and database is Oracle. Then I will say next. Next, I will keep this settings default and then I will finish. So guys, what I did was when I did a lab setup, I created one pool member. Then I created one virtual server. Now I'm creating one layer 7 security policy. Now next task would be, I will call this layer 7 policy on my virtual server so that it will check all things. When client will hit a traffic on virtual server, first it will check whether that request is compliance according to policy or not. If it is legal request, then only F5 will forward traffic to your backend server. So that is how F5 ASM protect. F5 is coming as a middle. It will check all the things, whether my request is legal or illegal. So I have created a policy, guys. Now I will go to local traffic, virtual server. I will go to security, policies, I will enable. See, I'm getting a PHP and I will say log profile. I want to detect log all request, what is coming in and out. By default, when you create a policy, guys, it will go to transparent mode so that nothing will get blocked initially. So after that, now I will go to security policy. I will show you what all things it protect. So I will go to learning, and this, guys, whole ASM deals with this. So I will go into advanced. So see, guys, it will check your HTTP protocol compliance. So I was just talking in, right? It will check whether my HTTP version. So by default, HTTP has different version. HTTP version is 0.9, 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. So it will check whether my HTTP request is legal, what is coming in my body, all these things we will discuss in detail. See, file type. You can check what is illegal file type. So let's say I want to block exe file type. So I will go to application security, file type, and I will say that it should only allow, or what I will do is, I will go here and there are two options. One is allowed file type and one is disallowed file type. I will say I want to block exe file type. So if I allow, if my customer trying to access exe file type, it will block. Here it will give you URL. Here you can allow URL, parameters, everything, geolocation. Let's say I want to block traffic based on geolocation. That can also be done. Here I was talking about methods. By default, F5 only allow these three methods: get, post, and head. So if someone traffic comes other than this method, F5 ASM will block it. So we'll talk about, there are many things, guys. Even you can perform DDoS attack, geolocation. So let's say I want to block Afghanistan. If some traffic is coming from Afghanistan, it should get blocked. So this is how, let's say now I want to block SQL injection attack. So what I will do, I will move this policy into blocking mode. I will just save this. So when you want to block any attack signatures are known patterns. If you want to block, if there is some attack happening, you want to block, you need to move this policy into blocking mode. By default, it's in transparent mode. Then you will apply the changes. Okay, guys, this is how. Now, if I open this 192, 1.60, if I enter this, sometimes it will show you. Now it will give you, you will go to security, event logs, application request. So I'll say all request. So see, It will give you the violation. Can you see? SQL injection attack is happening. There is some attack which is happening and request looks like a threat. So that is how it will block accordingly. So that is all about the basics, and we will talk about, so now for next 2 minutes I will talk about course content quickly to show you what I think things will be covered. Then we will have a career guidance sessions for 10 to 15 minutes. We have a special guest who will give you a career guidance. So first module is a setting up of F5. We will do lab setup and all. After that, guys, we will talk about what is local traffic policy, what is HTTP, what is virtual server, what is pool member. All these things will be discussed in module 2. This is very important. We will talk about what comes under layer 7 protection attack, how F5 will examine response request, and this is important, how ASM parses file type URL and parameters. So F5 has a dedicated learning engine. It will give you all details when you access any website. It will give you what users file type has access, URLs and parameters. Common web application vulnerabilities. We will talk about OWASP top 10. Then we will talk about security policy deployment. What is negative security model? What is positive security model? How to assign policy into virtual server. We will talk about attack signatures. All these things in detail. Then very important thing, fine tuning. What is false positive? How violation is? There are different types of violation. How ASM will categorize whether this is a true violation or a fake violation. Then we will talk about how to create attack signatures. What are the different attack signatures which it protects? We will talk about file type, URL and parameters, learning engine, learning suggestions, everything in detail. After that, guys, we will talk about cookies and everything about what are the cookies, how it protects from cookies attacks. So we will talk about this in detail. Now, next stuff is reporting and login. How, let's say you get multiple event logs. I want to save it in Splunk. We will talk about how to integrate. Login, advanced parameter details. What are parameters? How to build policy using automatic policy at application ready templates. So there are total 15 modules, guys, and this course is around 24 hours. Then brute force attack, DDoS attack, web scraping, all this. Total modules, these are 15 plus total 19 modules are there, guys. And this training is a weekends, Saturday, Sunday batch, and timings would be 10 a.m. IST to 12 p.m. Morning batch will be there and live batch will start from 2nd July. And it will be Saturday, Sunday. Total duration, it can take more than 1 month. Plus you will get lab guide, like we will help you to make a lab in your laptop, plus study materials, plus lifetime interview support.